Family and friends, let us begin our service to remember Harvey and to pay tribute to his life. I'm Rabbi Eddie Sukoff from the Shul. Shiviti Adonai l'negdi tamid kimini balemot. Lachen sameach libi v'yagel kevodi af bisari yishkon lavetach. I have set the Eternal always before me. God is at my side. I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure. I know that you will not abandon me to death, O God, nor will you let your faithful one see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence, O God, brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift. It seems paradoxical, even nonsensical perhaps, to begin a funeral service with a psalm that speaks of enduring happiness and fullness of joy, when in fact the mood is exactly the opposite today. But we begin with that passage from the 16th Psalm as a way to acknowledge that though today is a day of grief and we grieve deeply, we also reach deep down inside of ourselves, hopefully to find the strength, not only to grieve, but to offer gratitude and thanks for the gift of Harvey's life, for a life that was well and richly and fully lived. Harvey was active and energetic, a man with a lot of projects, many revolving around automobiles, especially antique automobiles, but he'd fix anything. He had more energy than most of us, maybe than all of us combined. And so we are in shock today that with no warning and unexpectedly, his life came to an abrupt end last Friday night. Whenever death comes, we are saddened. And even when it's anticipated, there is still an element of surprise as we confront the finality. But when death comes suddenly and unexpectedly, as it did to Harvey, we are left bewildered. And we ask the eternal questions that we've been asking since the beginning of time. We turn to God in grief, and we ask, what are we that you have regard for us, O God? And what are we that you are mindful of us? In the face of death, we are reminded that we are little more than breath. Our days, they seem like a passing shadow. They come and go like grass. It shoots up in the morning renewed, but in the evening it fades and it withers. And we are returned to dust. God says to us, "Return, O you mortal creatures." When we die, we carry nothing away with us. But the psalmist teaches, "Mark the wholehearted, behold the upright. They shall know true peace." Susan and Sherry and Arthur and all of your family, the grandchildren and the great-grandchild, the nieces and nephews, to all of you, we gather with you today, understanding that you grieve in a darkened world. We know that in your silence there is sadness, in your tears, loneliness, and lamentation. We gather with you to comfort you, to envelop you with our hugs and our love, to comfort you. And we hope that today and in the days ahead, the presence of loving friends will be a comfort and a consolation to all of you. And we gather with you not only that we might comfort you, but to call upon God on your behalf and to ask God also to be with you, that you might feel God's loving embrace and that this too might be comforting. Harvey had a love for all of you that death does not and cannot sever. That love continues in each of your hearts and each of your souls. You enjoyed with him companionship, times spent together, times of celebration and simcha, times of challenge. Today we remember him and we grieve. And we are thankful for the gifts of his heart and his mind and all those things that he did and said that brought joy into our lives and smiles to our faces. All of these are now a precious remembrance, and we offer our thanks to God for the gift of his life. To share words of tribute, I'd like to call upon two of Harvey's granddaughters, Marissa and Nadia.
Hi, can you hear me? If I'm a little too loud, I'm sorry. I'm just a very loud person. So my name's Nadia Schmitz, and I am the daughter of Stephen and Sherry Winter. And of course, Grandpa Harvey was my grandpa. So I'm going to start with, when I was younger, I used to study my grandparents and figure out their personalities. And if anyone knows, I'm adopted. So when I was adopted, I met my grandparents. I wanted to study them, figure out like how to get in their good side, like how do I get the treats and all that. And what I mean is every grandparent has their own unique personality. For example, my grandpa on my mom's side would take me to baseball games and he would do theater and was very easy to talk to. And then there's my grandma on my dad's side who speaks her mind, who loves food passionately, and has a crazy, funny New York accent. And then there was Grandpa Harvey. And boy, was he a tough one to figure out. But the more I got to spend time with him, and the more I got to know him, I figured out Grandpa Harvey's unique personality. It was classic, and I made up this word, antique-y. And what I mean is, when I went to Harvey's house, everything in his house was very antique, very classic. He would have old cameras, all different ages of old classic cameras. And he had a classic slot machine. When I would come over there, I would always play with it. And Harvey would always tell me, don't play with that, you're gonna break it. But guess what? I still played with it, even when he was not looking. But my favorite thing about going to Harvey's house was the candy. If you knew Harvey, he loved candy, loved it. Candy was everywhere around his house, everywhere. And I remember every time I came over, I would eat that candy bowl, and Grandpa Harvey and Grandma Judy would have to take it away from me because I would go on a candy rush, and they just didn't know how to handle with me. I would be bouncing from one place to the other, and Harvey would be like, Nadia, sit down, let's watch some TV. No. More candy, woo. But there was more memories that I want to share with you. So one of my favorite memories was when I would go over to Grandpa Harvey and Grandma Judy's house, I would like to make fun of him with his cars because his cars was his passion. He loved them. So I would sit on their outside porch on their swing, and I would be like, Grandpa in cars, sitting in a tree. And he would always turn around, and he would make this frown, and he had the big bushy eyebrows, and he would make it to like a unibrow. So I did that because it was just so funny. And Judy would come out and be like, what are you doing, Nadia? Watch this, Grandma, watch this. Grandpa in cars, sitting in a tree. And you go, why are you making fun of me in the cars? And Grandma's like, oh, I see the unibrow going on. So she would sit next to me, and we would just start singing that all the time. Another one of my favorite memories was when Harvey and Judy would take me on my birthday, and we'd go out to eat. And then he would go and take me to a toy store, and he would go pick out 5, 6 things, anything you want. So me and Judy would, go, and all of a sudden Harvey would disappear, and I'd be like, Grandma, where did Grandpa go? Oh, you'll see. So I saw this cool toy. It was one of those electric dogs that could bark, all that cool stuff. And Harvey sneaks up, and there's an antique car. He goes, Nadia, you want this. And I'm going like, Grandpa, come on. You want this. The whole time I was at that store, he really tried hard. And every single year on that dot, and every time we went to that toy store, he would do that with me, hoping I would buy that antique car. Another great memory was car shows. He would brag about his car, brag about how wonderful his granddaughters were and grandsons. I have 2 more memories. Another memory was when I was about to graduate, we had an auto mechanic class, and I was like, oh, I want to join. I want to make my grandpa proud of me. So I got to learn how to change a tire, change my oil, and boy, did I feel proud of myself. The first thing I did was I called my grandpa up. I was like, Grandpa, guess what? He was like, okay, Nadia, what's up? I know how to change a tire and oil. He goes, no, you don't. I take an auto mechanic class, Grandpa. I know how to do it. And he was just so proud of me because most people don't really know how to change a tire or change their oil. And he says, those are one of the main things that everyone should know. And I'm very proud of you that you know how to change a tire and how to change your oil. And my last memory was Grandpa Harvey got to see my son, I think it would be a great grandson. And if you know Harvey's dictionary, beautiful is not in his dictionary. So he finally got to hold him for the first time. And he looked at me and he said, you made such a beautiful baby. And I can't wait to teach him about cars like I taught you. Sorry. And that really hit me hard because my grandpa's not here today to teach my son about cars. But thank God I have my husband for that. And Harvey loved my husband because they got to talk about cars. And he would always tell me, you married a great man. You know why? I go, why, Grandpa? Because he knows about cars. I was like, well, thanks, Grandpa. Maybe I should just marry a car. But these were some of my favorite memories of Grandpa Harvey. Harvey was a kind, a lovable person. He may not show it all the time, but Grandpa Harvey is one of those grandparents that will always be there no matter what the circumstances was. I will miss him very dearly, and I know he is happy in heaven with Judy and Pepe. And another one thing I want to say, for everyone who still has grandparents, like I didn't realize the older you get and you get busy and everything, I really regret that I didn't get to spend much more time with Harvey. I really wish I did. So I'm just letting out there, spend as much time as you can because you don't know how much time you have left with them. But thank you for all coming.
Good afternoon. My name is Marissa, and I'm the youngest of Harvey's grandchildren. I'm very honored to be here to say a few words about my grandfather. He had a very positive outlook on life, and I admired his attitude because even though he accomplished a lot in his time, his life was not easy. He grew up very poor and worked very hard every day, many times late into the night. Even though his life was difficult and he worked very hard for everything, he never showed it. When my grandmother Judy passed away 2 years ago, Grandpa showed us all that life goes on and we have to keep up on life. He was always appreciative of life and positive, never dwelling on the negatives. Not only that, he was one of my best friends. When fall came around, the pumpkin patch was the first stop. My grandpa could not leave without bringing home a boatload of pumpkins and pictures of my mom and I playing with the goats. During the winter, my grandpa and I would go on our weekend dates. We would have breakfast, drink hot chocolate and chocolate pancakes, and then after that, we would go to the shooting range and compete with each other, although he always won. In the summer, we would go to Geneva, down to the trailer, where he would take me down in his golf cart, and I would swim all day. And when night came, we would have our family picnic. We would make burgers and potato salad, but before we could go to bed, he would take out graham crackers and marshmallows to make amazing s'mores. And those picnics were the best ones that I can remember. In the summer, he almost spent every weekend with me. I remember that we would just go out and do whatever we wanted, ice cream, anything. But every time it was time to say goodnight, he would remind me to be a good girl, and he'd remind me that I'm growing up. He'd tell me he loved me, and he told me never, ever to forget it. There was not a day, and there won't be a day, where I will not think of his words, because just his presence brought a light feeling to my heart and many of yours. I know that he loved everyone in this room and cared deeply for his friends and family. I know that he would appreciate everyone being here today because you all brought joy to his life, and he loved spending time with all of you. I want to thank you for being such a wonderful grandfather to me. You are a role model and a friend. Your guidance and love will carry me through. I love you, Grandpa, until we meet again. Thank you.
Nadia and Marissa, thank you. Tradition teaches that words that come from the heart enter directly into the heart. And there can be no more fitting words for someone than the beautiful memories of grandchildren. In understanding social networks, there are certain types of people that are essential to a network of friends or a community. They're sometimes called connectors. They bring people together, they attract people to them, and they link people up in networks and friendships. It's quite okay. Harvey was one of those connectors. He was a magnet. People were drawn to him, and he connected people. Some of you here have friendships with Harvey going back to early childhood. And for some of you, that's a good number of years at this point. That's the way he was. He made friends. He held on to friends. He was generous with his time, with his spirit, with his skills. He enjoyed life fully and grandly. He believed a couple of very basic things about life. One, work hard. He would be gratified to see all of you here today. But to some of you, and certainly to his family, he would say, well, how come you're not at work? Because that was his question. Did you work today? And the granddaughter spoke about his life and the challenges in his early life. Growing up impoverished, and from that, developing a belief in the value of hard work, of nose to the grindstone, of doing what needed to be done and then some. So he believed that you should work hard in life, but he also believed you should have fun and you should enjoy life. And he did that as well. He worked hard on his cars, but he loved them and he enjoyed them. He loved his camper and going on vacations, long weekends and other vacations longer. He loved eating. He took a delight in food. Susan and Sherry, you describe him as a lifelong junk food addict. We've heard about the candy. We've heard about the ice cream. But I think it's fair to say we really can't overstate his love of ice cream. Practically every day, he made sure to have some ice cream, and not always just a dish. He was a believer that a serving of ice cream was when the spoon hit the bottom of the carton. That was a serving. He went to Collinwood High School, and when the family moved, he didn't want to change high schools. He didn't want to go to Heights High, so he kept going to Collinwood. Concocted some story about how he still lived in Collinwood. I didn't get all the details. Sounds like there was a lot of smoke and mirrors, but somehow he finished high school at Collinwood. Harvey was a man didn't sit still, always busy, doing, energetic. Working his whole life, never really stopped. He had 8 antique cars. To describe him as an avid car buff understates it. And he restored those cars and made them beautiful, mint condition. And the family shared with me something that I'm not sure everybody here knows. He had a reputation in his family as the male Imelda Marcos of shoes. He loved shoes. When Judy was ill, he was especially devoted and good to her. Tradition teaches that when we die, we take nothing with us from the world. Our material goods don't accompany us to the grave. We bury our dead with open hands rather than closed fists as a way to indicate that we leave it all behind. What survives us is what the rabbis called the Keter Shem Tov, the crown of a good name. The crown of a good name that some people, in the way they live and the way they love, earn for themselves in the years granted to them. Harvey earned that Keter Shem Tov for himself, that crown of a good name. It graced him in life. It accompanies him in death. and it is bequeathed to all of you, his family. And every time you work hard, you wear the crown of his good name, and you pay tribute to his life. And every time you help someone and are generous, whether with your pocketbook or your time or your energy, every time you help someone, you wear the crown of his good name, and you pay tribute to his memory. Zichrono livracha. Harvey's memory will forever be a blessing to all who knew him and to all who loved him. Amen. Adonai ro'i lo echsar binoteshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yenahaleni nafshi yeshovev. Yancheni v'ma'agalei tzedek lema'an shemo gam ki elech begeitz al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi shiftecha umishantecha hema yanachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sogerai dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shafti beveit Adonai le'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Please rise. El malei rachamim shochein bamromin hamtzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina im kedoshim utehorim kezohar harakia mazhirim et nishmat Chaim Yaakov ben Pinchas shehalach leolamo began eden tehei menuchato ana bal harachamim hastirehu beseter kenafecha leolamim vayitzror bitzror hachayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato ve'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Chaim Yaakov ben Pinchas, to Harvey Morton Actor, for he has now entered eternity. O God of mercy, we pray, may he find refuge in your eternal presence, and may his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance, and we say, Amen. Please be seated. Following our burial service at Mount Olive Cemetery, the family will return to Harvey's home to observe Shiva today through Thursday, 1174 GC Drive. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that. Geesey, thank you. I didn't think I pronounced that right. Shiva will be observed today until 8 p.m., tomorrow from 2 to 4 and 6 to 8 in the afternoon, and then Thursday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. For those who may wish to honor Harvey's memory with a charitable contribution, the family suggests that in honor of Harvey's great love of animals, you might direct your generosity to the Geauga Humane Society's Rescue Village.